When Ryan and I first started dating, I thought he was too good for me. He was steady, patient, the kind of guy who didn't play games. I had come out of a messy breakup with someone who thrived on drama, so Ryan's calm felt foreign. He held doors open, remembered little details, and never left me wondering where I stood. And instead of being grateful, I mistook his loyalty for something I could take for granted. The first time I cheated, it wasn't even about love or attraction. It was about attention. I had been with Ryan for almost 2 years then, and things had settled into that comfortable rhythm. He worked long shifts, and when he came home, all he wanted was to eat, shower, and sleep. I craved excitement, someone to tell me I was beautiful, someone to make me feel like the center of the room again. So when a coworker named Alex started flirting, I didn't shut it down. It started small. Texting late at night, laughing at inside jokes. But before long, it crossed the line. One night after a work happy hour, I ended up in his car, and by the time it was over, I told myself it was nothing, just a mistake. I promised myself it would never happen again, and for a while, it didn't. I buried the guilt and convinced myself that if Ryan didn't know, it couldn't hurt him. But secrets rot in the dark, and mine didn't stay buried for long. 6 months later, there was another man. This time a friend of a friend from the gym. Again, it wasn't love. It was the thrill of sneaking around, the rush of being wanted. I told myself it didn't matter because Ryan and I weren't married yet, didn't have kids, hadn't built a life. I thought once we got past that stage, once we grew up, I would settle into being faithful. And I did. For a long time. Ryan and I got married, bought a little house, and had 2 kids, a boy and a girl. He worked harder than ever, and I threw myself into being a mom. For 16 years, I stayed loyal. I kept the past locked away in a box I thought he'd never open. We had good years, bad years, the kind of normal marriage I thought would last forever. I told myself those early mistakes were behind me, that they didn't define who I was anymore. But Ryan never forgot. I didn't know he knew, not at first. He never confronted me during those early years, never threw accusations in my face. Instead, he waited. He let me believe I was safe. And then, almost casually, he pulled the rug out from under me. It started one night after dinner. The kids were upstairs, and Ryan and I were sitting in the living room. He looked at me across the coffee table and said, "Do you ever think about the beginning? About us before the kids?" My stomach dropped instantly because his tone wasn't nostalgic. It was sharp, probing. I forced a laugh and said, "Of course." "Why?" He leaned back, eyes steady on mine, and said, "I just wonder how different things would have been if you'd chosen honesty instead of lies." My heart pounded. For a second, I tried to play dumb, to ask what he meant, but he didn't let me. He listed names, dates, details I thought I had buried. He knew about Alex. He knew about the guy from the gym. He had known all along. I stammered excuses, begged him to understand that it was before marriage, before the kids, before we built a life together. That was a different me, I said. I was young, stupid, insecure. I've been faithful since. He just nodded, calm, almost cold, and said, 16 years I gave you, and not once did you tell me the truth. You let me carry this while you smiled in my face and played happy family. That's not loyalty. That's cowardice. I tried to reach for him, to make him see the woman I had become, not the girl I had been. But he pulled away like my touch burned. You think because time passed it doesn't count, he said. But trust doesn't expire. You robbed me of the choice to forgive you back then. You built a marriage on silence, and now I'm done pretending I don't hear it. Within weeks, he had filed for divorce. I thought he was bluffing at first, that he would cool down, that the life we built together would outweigh mistakes from decades ago. But he wasn't bluffing. He hired a lawyer, moved into a rental, and started the process like a man who had already grieved the marriage long ago. The court sided with him on almost everything. He painted me as deceptive, untrustworthy, someone who couldn't be relied on to tell the truth. I tried to argue, to beg the judge to see that I had been a good wife and mother for 16 years, but none of it mattered. Ryan got the house, primary custody of the kids, and even our dog. I was left with visitation every other weekend and an apartment I could barely afford. The kids look at me differently now. My son barely speaks when he's with me, retreating to his room with headphones. My daughter asked me outright, "Mom, did you really cheat on Dad?" The shame that washed over me in that moment was unbearable. I lied, of course, told her it was complicated, that adults make mistakes, but I could see it in her eyes. Something shifted. I wasn't the safe parent anymore. I was the one who broke everything. Ryan, on the other hand, seems lighter. He posts pictures with the kids at soccer games, smiling at family barbecues, living the life we used to share. Friends and neighbors rallied around him. To them, he's the strong man who put up with betrayal for years and finally walked away with dignity. They call him brave, resilient. No one calls me anything except selfish. And the worst part? They're right. I thought I had outgrown my past, that my silence had erased it. But silence doesn't erase. It festers, waiting for the right moment to destroy you. Ryan held that truth like a card he could play at any time, and when he finally did, it shattered everything. Now I sit in this tiny apartment, staring at bare walls, scrolling through pictures of a family that feels like it was stolen from me. But I know it wasn't stolen. I handed it away years ago, in the back of a car with a coworker, in the arms of a man whose name I barely remember. I thought those nights were nothing. Turns out, they were everything. Ryan won. He walked away with his pride intact, his kids by his side, his life moving forward. And me? I'm left with nothing but the echo of choices I made before I was ready to be the woman I pretended to be.